by being good at that kind of stuff, right?
Tom, what have you noticed the past 10 years in the NHL? Changes, like you've gone to tickets, games, and you more than gone to practices. What's the biggest difference you've observed?
You're kind of coming in and out here on mine. The biggest thing I think I've noticed is they know how to use the no red line now.
Okay.
If you watch their breakouts, every breakout, like if they have moving it up ice, if you pinch on them,
yeah.
Like I was watching last night because I was teaching it last night, so I really watched some of the games last night. Everyone, the strong side forward goes up against the D, the blue line, about a meter from the boards, not right against the boards. And he's a chip out option or a touchback option.
Yeah.
Wide winger slashes across and goes right to the far blue line on the strong side.
Yeah.
So it drives the D off the line, right?
Yeah.
They're moving, otherwise they get breakaways.
Yeah.
The other thing is, instead of the traditional triangle, everybody on the fast attack is using the middle drive.
Yeah.
And with the back pressure, first forward back chasing the puck carrier, that wide guy, unless F2 gets him, he's open.
Yeah.
They get their pass across. That you'll see lots of goals on that. Last night I was watching Colorado for a while. They were doing scissors all over the place. You know, we've been up above. A car would skate across, and other guy come behind him. He'd do scissors to each other. And now the big deal is defense. Is you divide the defensive zone into a square, line down the middle, and so there's 4 squares.
Yeah.
And everybody defends their square, and the center has to go everywhere. A lot of players, they do a lot of stuff up high now. They expanded they move the net back 2 feet and the blue line out 2 feet. And they take advantage of that big space between top of the circle and the blue line.
Yeah.
And the center, a lot of teams like Las Vegas started last year. The center has to be all over the place. He's a backup to everybody. So it's a little different than man on box behind. Calgary doing it and they're struggling. I use people all the time. Vegas is such a good defense. So those are the kind of the team plays, and plus players are coming in. There's no fourth line anymore, really. There's a fourth line, but it's not a crash and bang line like it used to be. And somebody hits one of those guys that kick the crap out of them. There's not a lot of those players around anymore. Like Toronto's got that Reeves, and he can't keep up anymore. So the game's changing in that way. Like they used to say, always there's hardly any body checking. If you go and you hit a guy, you take yourself out of the play. And now if you hit a guy hard, you basically get a penalty. So those are things that
I'm getting some background sound. It's more like wind. That stopped. Well, Peter left. So, Tom, we're just carrying on the conversation. You are sort of keep such close track of the NHL. What are you doing that you are keeping up with the game with your U15 team?
Well, I haven't seen many this year, but I've gone to multiple pro practices, and even the world, all of Canada's teams they follow, they do the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
And go watch them practice. So see the trends, the trends way practices are. Like the Carolina drill we did last night, that 2-0 down the middle, it passed, and it's 3-0 the other way, it goes end to end.
Yeah.
That's from Bill Peters coaching in Carolina. I watched them practice a couple of times when they're here. That's a great drill. And those, I disagree with doing the middle drive if there's players in front of you. It's really easy coverage. I think you got to go back to the way Kresge and Curry did. You create a 2-on-1 on the widest guy. The other guy to the net, and the fourth player come up, like Coffee did all the time. And I see that happening a lot now.
Yeah.
They're creating 2-on-1s on the widest guy. There's no use racing them if they're back. You're not going to beat them, right? If they're already back.
Yeah.
If they're using a passive forecheck. So you have to create Belfry calls it the 4-chamber attack.
Yeah.
Wide chamber and the dot chamber on the side, and then the other guy goes to net. So basically like Gretzky, Curry, and Coffee did all the time, and Semenko went hard to the net.
Yeah. Did Semenko go wide hard or middle hard?
Well, he'd be on the left wing, right?
Yeah. So he'd go.
He was going.
Hard.
He was going to the net.
Yeah.
And then and then Gretzky would decide whether he was going to pivot and give it to Curry or Coffee, or if he was going to just cut in. If they backed in, he'd cut into the middle himself.
Yeah.
And then both go to the net.
Yeah.
And even last night, I even saw Colorado, I think it was, doing the low spread power play. 2 players behind the net.
Yeah.
Play in the middle and the D move up a bit.
Yeah.
And they did that a little bit and slid into the 1-3-1. Yeah. I think that's such a good way because everybody's back gets turned.
Yeah.
Really hard to keep track of people. And you lose them for a second. It's hard to look one way then the other way. And
Well, Tom, the other night I was talking to a couple parents who really watched the game closely, and they questioned the lack of a power play of the particular team that we were watching practice. And I mentioned you and the idea that you follow the game so much that you know what the 1-3 umbrella is, and you've introduced it to your U15s, but you also put the 2 players below the goal line so people turn their backs.
Yeah.
So you're creating more structure, yet the kids, are they really able to play within your structure?
Oh yeah. I don't want them to race. Like the Flames can't score in the power play because the only thing they want to do in the rush is set up in the 1-3-1. So they don't try to score. And I listened to Gullitz and talking about their power play. And he said he used to do that. And he says he learned he's got to let the players try to score on the rush. Then you win the loose puck. Then you set up your power play. But Calgary has a hell of a time getting over the blue line. They're getting stopped there all the time because, they do these little passes, 10 feet inside the blue line and they get jammed. They don't try to score on the rush. So, so our philosophy is you try to score in the rush, you win the loose puck and then, then set up whatever is happens after you win the loose puck.
Like I've always mentioned the same thing, Tom, with the national women. Score on the rush is the first object. Maintaining control and setting up is second. And a part of that is your free puck battles to make sure you have control. So I just use the term possession overrides position, swarm the puck, and the D can pinch to the goal line on a power play. Yeah. So those to me are, fundamental tactics, yet teams sort of say we're playing a 1-3-1, they try to play it, and the players think that arrangement and they can't execute because it's a flowing read as you play scenario.
We should say hi to Jordan here. Hi, Jordan.
Jordan, how about your power play at U18?
Well, our power play at the U18, I got a sunshine in my eyes. Just a second. Much like Tom had suggested there, it's giving them some a little bit of structure, but not really systems. I go with well, what you'd shared, Wally, about George Kingston talking about supporting the puck in L's, which I guess if you looked at it in basketball, John Wooden and Michael Jordan and those crew, it's actually triangles is what you're supporting it in when you're supporting it in L's. And then the other is that looking at what Wayne Fleming talked about, making short passes then a long pass or long pass then a short pass, in trying to make sure that there's puck movement. And I've been stressing all along with them that the importance of moving the puck rather than skating the puck around in the zone. And so we use the Badger Bob 1 versus 5 or 5 versus 1, whichever you want to look at it in practice, so the kids can be creative. And our power play is going okay. And right now it's all kids play on the power play. And so it's important that they're all getting the opportunity to play. And we're going to look and see maybe after Christmas here, start formalizing power play units. But right now it's everyone gets the opportunity to play. And right now with 2 kids now out with broken hand or wrist, it's really important that everyone knows what they're doing when they're out there.
Well, Tom, one of the things on the power play, Jordan and Tom, the 1-3-1 is your flank player being able to one-time shoot. Everybody looks at the NHL and they see those flank players and they can hammer the puck. And back in the day when Bob Johnson did that 5 versus 1, he did a 2-hour clinic on that game, change every 10 seconds, try to disrupt the 5. All they did was get the puck to Lanny on the off wing for the one-timer. I don't know that they had bumper in the middle or not, but the one
nobody used a 1-3-1 in Bob Johnson's day.
No.
The only thing that used a 1-3-1 was Finland.
Yeah.
And Johanni's team invented it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of drifted into all of hockey. TPS invented it.
Now my point is, Tom, you practiced one-time shooting, and I watched the drill. Everybody in pairs. Did a good demonstration with Jim feeding a player near the board, not a distance from the boards, and putting it in the wheelhouse and one-timing it. And everybody in pairs was doing it. Everybody was one-timing the puck with a degree of force that impressed me at that young age.
Well, that's a Swedish drill.
Yeah.
Their demonstration course is just 1D, and they get 4 shots.
Yeah.
So what happens is one player has 4 pucks. So the shooter skates towards them.
Yeah.
They pass, one touch it back, then go backwards, get a pass and shoot. And they do that 4, and they take turns.
Yeah.
It's a really good way. I know it'll help the girls go on. It's hard to find players, especially in the girls hockey, that can one-time the puck.
Yeah.
So that's one skill that I really try to get that they can do. So we do quite a few things. Like we got one girl that's fantastic. Cryway is fantastic at it. Yeah. So we got to get her in a position where she gets that, because she's playing bumper right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important skill for kids to learn, even going to the net, right? That you can time it, and even if it's a catch, we work on catch and release a lot too.
Yeah.
So that catch the puck and release it, because that's how you score.
Yeah.
Usually quick. But
Yeah.
we scored 2 power play goals on Sunday,
Yeah.
but both were on the rush. We
Yeah.
made each of them. We made 3 passes. On the third pass, the player, one was a rebound, but that, if we would have skated in and tried to set up,
Yeah.
nothing would have happened, right?
Point made. Scored on the rush on the power play.
Yeah. So
Now the thing I wanted to do, Jordan and Tom, you're at the level where this stuff is absolutely possible, and you're making it happen. Those tactical skills, the passing skills, the IQ, the vision, the decision making. I just attended 2 U13 practices yesterday, and one of the things that they were teaching was slap shot. And so my question is, you're working with U13 kids, the slap shot biomechanics is important, but the big high windup and the slap shot from the point is sort of like obsolete in the game today. But you still have to teach the wider grip, the firm grip of the bottom hand, and the powering down and the impact point and all those things. That's the challenges. Teaching the slap shot, then half slap, and then those one timers might happen. I don't think a
slap
U13.
shot, you won't be able to one time it.
Yeah. So
Especially the
U13.
kids with learning, they let
Yeah.
their bottom elbow bend.
Yeah.
And of course, and no torque on the stick, right?
Yeah.
So they have to learn. Like yesterday, we were doing your breakout at the start. Where the goalie passes.
Yeah.
And when there was no goalie because the goalies were passing. And I said, I want you to cross the blue line and take a slap shot because I want them all to learn because there's all that coordination of your body to get a slap shot off. And we, I think it's important to learn how to slap shot.
Yeah. Jordan, what about your team? Do you have shots blocked from the point? 5-on-5?
Yeah, and that's well, it was interesting with one of our players that has an injury and has been in the stands. Gave her the opportunity to track shots, and one of the stats on that is blocks, and it was she charts them where they originate on the ice, the attempts, and it was really eye-opening for some of the kids to look at it and see the fact that we had lots of attempts and not enough getting through percentage-wise, even compared to our opposition. And just that awareness piece allowed kids to think about what they're doing. And I go back to what Hal had shared, talking about the old days of the Minnesota North Stars, and when he said that he did his own research on it. And when Minnesota attempted 13 or more slap shots from the blue line, they lost. And if they kept it under 13 attempts, they won. And it was just that those big wind-up slap shots, they meet shin pads more times than not. And we had one D in the gold medal game that she scored 2 goals from the point. And why did she score them? Because it was just on her stick and off her stick towards the net. The one was a heck of a shot. The second one, it was just there were so many bodies through, and that puck got through. Goalie didn't have a chance.
And that's the key, is you got to get the shot through, and it doesn't matter what kind of shot, really.
Yeah.
If you stand still and take a long time to slap shot, it's probably going to get blocked. But if you go out and back, especially, like Brent Burns is a guy that really started that. Get the puck and find a hole and shoot it right away. Now that's basically what most players do now. Just go laterally and get your shot on, and now they're not shooting on the ice or 2 inches off the ice. They're shooting waist height, and it's easier to tip. And so that's changed in the game too. They used to say, shoot on the ice so a guy can tip it. But now a lot of guys, they'll pick it off the D and shoot it down the ice. So you got to get the puck over the sticks, and people are in front, and even the middle screen now they have the 2 screens with the 1-3-1. or even on regular, one guy's screening the goalie and one guy's out of the hash. And that guy at the hash tips a lot now. You know, on
Well, the other part with it, Tom, is that people are less willing to stand in front and block shots when they're coming in hard and high too. Like that's it's actually a strategy to get some of the opposition out of the way too, because they're going to start bailing if they're getting it into soft areas.
Yeah, yeah. But the key is, you know, you want the puck about waist height so that it's easier to tip up or down. I have to leave for 1 minute here.
Yep. Jordan, when I'm watching the national team play and even watching the pros, years ago, the first thing was one-timers. And I remember Jen Botterill staying out with me. I was the high person just feeding her pucks after the girls went off. And all she did was one time from the flank. And that sort of became her signature. And in the games that followed, it just working with that one player in the way that Tom did with all the players translated into the performance in the games. And it became a part of her performance. It's just the way she played. And I don't know how many people take the time to do deliberate one-timers with the national team. That was just me and one player who stayed out with me. And bingo, I saw the payoff. So I'm just thinking he did this with everybody on the ice, all against the boards repeatedly. 14 and 15-year-old girls. It was mind-boggling because they were hammering the puck. And I can imagine them being able to do that in a game. If they can do it that well in practice, the timing factor isn't there, you know, the movement and the getting in the seam to shoot it, to one time it. But the thing I've thought, Jordan, and I don't know if it's doable at your level or Tom's, but when I watch the NHL, I say if you have a touch pass on your power play, you're going to get a puck on the net. But if you handle a puck and pass, you're not. So to me, the key tactical offensive skill on power play is deceptive quick puck movement, which means touch passing or faking shots and passing, or even just redirecting the puck. And so the art of coaching, there's so many little details that go into the building blocks to come up with the final execution. I'm amazed because Tom's girls, with that kind of repetition, I mean, they're doing NHL national team drills as well as those players. And in fact, I think they're so young, they do it with more intensity. The practice pace of the girls at all the practices, and even the two U13 teams I watch play, no ghosting at all. They're absolutely giving it their all. So I don't know whether it's just girls or just at that age, they just want to, they don't know the difference between lollygagging and hard work. They just hard work. So I'm pretty impressed, Tom, with particularly your team, but I haven't seen these other two teams practice for a while. I went out yesterday and big improvement in their effort and their performance. Stronger, harder shooting, harder passing. It's they're developing. I'm really, really impressed.
I think a lot of it's got to do with how we chose our team.